1st of March 2008, which is correct. Okay, so I'm going to click next on that, and then it asks us what is our current period. Again, this is important we get it right. If we set it too far forward, then we can't go back and reopen periods, so it's quite important that we don't do something like that when we're setting our company up. Now the period that we are going to put it in is December 2007. So I'm going to highlight that period and click OK, and it then gives us the details here for that period. It starts on the 1st of December, ends on the 31st of December. We can amend future periods and things like that at a later date, so we can play about with period ends for future periods, but we'll cover that later in the accounting setup. Okay, so I click next and finish that accounting period wizard, and then it shows me here my financial year. So all my closed periods, because I said my current period, was December. We can see all my closed periods there showing as red. I've then got my current period of December in amber, and I've got my future periods there in green. Okay, so now that I've set that up, I've got my finish button, which is what I'm going to do. I could, if I wanted to, like I say, go through all the other options in here to do all my setup, but I'm not going to do that on this course. Okay, so when I click finish, it returns me back to the previous screen. Now it's quite important to remember that at this point we're not actually in our new company. I'm still in the Demo UK company. To get into my new company, I'll go to the File menu and say Sign Out. Okay, and then when I click the drop down this time, I should have two options. One's my Dangerous Toys one, which I've just set up, and the other one is my Demo UK company. So if I want to, I can now select my Dangerous Toys company, log in with admin and admin, because that's the default username and password that gets created, and I can log in. Just before I do that, I'm just going to cover this F2 configuration tool window. If I click the F2 button, it pops up another window on the front of that one. Okay, and this is where we govern and control all of our connections through to the databases. So in here you can see this is our Dangerous Toys R Us one, the one that we've just set up, or the one that was automatically set up when we created our new company. Now this one has been made the default, which means it's the one that will obviously default in here every time we open Interprise. I can set another one to default by highlighting that connection and use the Set Default button on the toolbar. I actually want Dangerous Toys to be mine, so I'm going to set it back. Okay, and over on the right hand side, for whichever option I've got selected on the left, it will show me the connection details. So over on the right hand side for my Dangerous Toys R Us, it's telling me that my instance of SQL is local/SQL Express, which is the default instance that gets installed when you install SQL. It then says what the database name is, which is obviously Dangerous, which is what I named it when I went through the wizard, and what the authentication used is, and it's Windows authentication, which is the easiest. If you're over a LAN or on a local machine like I am and running everything single user, then Windows is the easiest authentication and also the most secure. Okay, so if I double click on that, it'll bring up the settings within there, so I can actually change these. So if I want to connect to another database or a different instance of SQL, I can change that. Or if I want to start using SQL authentication, I can change it. Also, we've got a test button in here, quite useful for testing our connections as we're keying them in, making sure we've set them up correctly. Okay, in here we've also got a cache disabled or cache enabled button. Now if we're connecting over the LAN, or like this is over a single user connection, then we should always have the cache disabled. Now this basically means that it's going to speed performance up for us when we're connecting over the LAN. If we were going to use an internet connection, then we would have to have that enabled. It would force it, because basically over the internet we need a cache database to help with speed and things like that. It caches permissions and things like that. Okay, so down here, this is that button. I can enable it for the LAN if I want to, but like I said, it is faster on the LAN if we disable it. The very bottom option here is a business service URL. Now that's used for connecting over the internet. If you're out of the office, you want to connect into the server on the office, as long as it's set up correctly, you would enter your own personal sort of IP address and connection string in this field down here, and then you'd set this to be internet connection and connecting over the internet basically. So that's basically that sign-in window covered. Okay, so what I'm now going to do is then sign into my Dangerous Toys company. On the top here on the bar it tells me what company I'm in. The other thing I'm going to show you in here is the company checklist. This is in the System Manager module, so I'm going to click the System Manager icon again, take me into that module. Now company checklist is here on the menu and is particularly useful for changing any of the company details. So if we got something wrong when we originally set our company up, like the address or the telephone number, etc., we can come back in here and change them. We can even change the logo and things like that. Okay, so in here I could come back and change something and then finish, and that's basically saved my changes. It's just a useful thing to know in case you do something wrong when you originally set up a company.